All right, so here's what's going to happen in Chapter 6. All the stuff that you did in 5, all the foiling, all the multiplying, all the simplifying, you undo in Chapter 6. So that's basically what happens there. So you're basically undoing everything that you learned. So if you learned how to FOIL, you should be really good at that. Now you're going to undo that. Okay? So in Chapter 6, that's all called factoring. All right? And to be really... So factoring doesn't have a lot of pure applications in mathematics. I mean, it's used to get people from one step to another in advanced mathematics, I guess. Later on, we'll learn how to solve by factoring, but only 10% of all these polynomials can be factored. Somebody actually studied that. So it doesn't really do a whole lot of good to emphasize that as a way to solve. It's just another way to rewrite things and to help get from one point to another. It's this little strategy, but it's not doesn't have a lot of applications in a real world sense. So let's start out. First of all, I'm going to make a list here of the different types of factoring methods that there are. And we're going to go through these. And when we start doing factoring this week, I will go through this and I will say, well, let's go through our factoring strategies and see which one we can apply. So the first one I wrote down there is take something out. And then this next one, I'm going to call a difference of two squares. And 3, I'm going to call a trinomial. And 4, we're going to call grouping. So each one of these is going to apply to a certain situation, all right, or a certain polynomial that we're going to factor. All right, so take something out, difference of two squares, trinomial, and grouping. All right, so that's the strategy. So then what I'm going to do is, as we go through this stuff this week, is I'm going to say, okay, here's a polynomial, we got to factor it. Let's run through our strategies. Do we take something out? Is it a difference of two squares? Is it a trinomial? Can we group it? And that's kind of what you want to do when you're taking tests or quizzes or doing your assignments, whatever, is you want to think of those 4 things. All right, what strategy is going to best suit this problem? Tonight, we'll talk about taking something out. We'll talk about trinomials, and we'll also talk about grouping. All right. We won't do difference of two squares tonight. Grouping and trinomials kind of go together. So you can talk about one, but you have to pretty much talk about the other one. All right. So let's just take some examples and look at some examples of taking something out. All right. So pretty much the directions here is just going to be to factor. And let's start off with something like this. All right, so we're going to factor something like that, and we're going to use the strategy of taking something out. All right, so I'm going to switch just a little bit of gears here and go to a red and talk about something like this. All right, so that's what we had in the last chapter, and that's even what you've had previous, and the whole idea here was to simplify it or multiply it. So you distributed. Okay? And that's what you did. Well, now we're going to undo that. So we're going to start with this and end up here. Okay? So we're undoing, like I said, all the work that we did in Chapter 5. So we want to ask ourselves, what can we take out of these two things? In other words, what goes into these things divides into them evenly. So what goes into 16 and 8 evenly? 8 does. Now, I know 4 does too, but we want to make it the highest number that we can take out of there. So we're going to put an 8 out front, and now we'll actually divide it. So 8 goes into 16 gives me a 2. 8 goes into 8 once, and that's factoring it. Okay? So we're breaking it down into its 2 factors. All right, and we want this one here, this guy here, we want it to be the highest number we can get out of it. It's called, what is that called? The greatest common factor, I think. So we want that to be the largest one. So you can see that you're undistributing. So you can kind of think of it that way if that helps you. So let's try another one. All right, so we're kind of kicking it up a little bit. So now we've got a little bit more variables. We have an x squared and an x. Okay, so we want to take something out. All right, so we got to ask ourselves, well, what can we take out of here and here? What goes into the numbers? First of all, what goes into the numbers evenly? 2 does, right? But what else do we have? X squared and x. So we can also take an x out of there. All right, so that means we can rewrite this as 2x. Okay. Now I'm going to divide this. But see, really what I want to think about is, well, what would I multiply 2x by to get 4x squared? All right, because you're undoing that. So what would I multiply 2x by to get 4x squared? Well, I need a 2 and I need another x. So you can kind of think of it that way. And then that's going to be a minus 1. All right, so this is called factoring. Taking something out, that's what we're doing. Okay, so here's a situation here where we have 3x squared minus 12. All right, so then we want to say, well, we need to figure out what we can take out of there. So what's common to both of these things? 3 is, right? So we can take a 3 out. Can we take an x out? Why not? Yeah, because there's not another one, right? There's only an x squared here. We don't have an x on this one, so we can't take an x out. We can take a 3 out. And what are we left with?
X squared minus 4.
X squared minus 4. All right. If I distribute this back in, I end up with this thing. Okay. Okay, so what can we take out of that one? What goes into those things? What can we take out? A 5 and a 5 and an x. Because 5 goes into both of these and x goes into both of those. So we're taking that out. And what are we left with? 2x plus 3, yep. Okay, and then if you distribute this back in, see, you're gonna get the same thing. And that's a good thing to do, all right? I wouldn't have you actually write it down and check it, but just check it up here, okay? Check it up here. Let's say we got 3 Okay, so now we have something like this one where we have 3 terms that we need to take it out. So we need to take something out of this. So what goes into those? 4 and x, right? Okay, 4 goes into each one of the numbers. X goes into those guys. We're going to take a 4x out. What are we left with? X squared minus 2x good minus 3. Yep. Okay. If I distribute this back in, that's what I'm going to get. Okay. Taking something out. So every time you come around to a polynomial and you're going to factor it, that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to ask ourselves, can we take something out of there? All right? And if we can't, then we can't. But that's the first thing we want to take a look at. Okay? Okay, so let's say we have something like this now. We're throwing everything at us. We got x squares, we got y's, we got a y squared, we got numbers, we got 3 terms, throwing everything at us here. So, what is it that we can take out of that? We need something that goes into all 3 of those things. So we got a 3. Heard that. Great. 2xy. Uh-oh. Because we can't put a 3 into that 4. So we got 2. We have x's that are common. And we have a y that's common. Very good. All right, we can't take an x squared. And we can't take a y squared. This is all we got. Well, let's take it out. See what we get. So what are we going to end up with? We're going to get 6x. I took the y away, so I don't have a y there, plus 3. Again, I took the x and y out, so I'm just left with 3 minus 2y. Okay, so if I move that back inside there, all right, I'm just going to do it just to show you, because you're really good at this. There we go. Alright, so we're undistributing. That's all we're doing there. Taking something out is just undistributing. Okay. So, any questions on taking something out of there? Questions on how to do that? All right. So we're not going to do difference of 2 squares. That's the next thing on the list. But we're going to take a look at some trinomial stuff. So, trinomial factoring, at first it's going to be a little bit, it might be a little challenge for you. Once you get the hang of it, it'll be the easiest one you probably do. So, trinomials, tri means 3, nomials means terms, so this type of factoring is going to have 3 terms to start with. Alright, so that's what we're going to look for. So if we see 3 terms, then we're going to probably think, hey, I think this is a trinomial. All right, so that's one dead giveaway for it. The other one is that decreasing order where we have an x squared, an x, and then a number. That's another dead giveaway for a trinomial. When you see that, you can pretty much say, well, I think that one's a trinomial. So before we start factoring them, though, I want to look at this. Oof, too thick. not one right at all. So what I'm going to do is just take some certain cases here and FOIL them, and then that will help give us a lead into factoring with trinomials. So let's start with something like this. And then I want to look at this one. We'll just stick with these ones. And this one. And this one. We're not even going to change the numbers. Okay, so I don't care if you write this down, it's up to you. But here we go. So we're going to FOIL these, right? So we're going to go like this, and this, and this, and this. So what are we going to get here? We're going to get x squared, and then what would we get? 5x, good. Okay, so we're done with the x there, done with the x there. Then we're going to get 4x, good. And then we're going to get 20. Okay? Now, like I said, almost every single time that stuff combines. So what's our answer going to be? Okay, that's good. So then what we're going to do is start with something like that. Okay, so our goal, we're starting with this, and we want to go back to here. Okay, we're starting with this, and we're going to go to that. So let's talk about this for a second. First of all, the x squared comes from these two terms. So then when we factor something, most likely we're going to have an x and an x, because the first thing we did was get that. Okay. Where did the 9 come from? What did we do to get the 9? Added 5 and 4, right? Okay. So we took these two numbers, added them to get us the 9. Where did the 20 come from? Multiplying that same 5 and 4. Okay. So back over here now, if we take this, even though we know what the answer is, okay, so let's say that we don't know the answer. All right, we got 20. We know that we need numbers that multiply to 20. Okay, so I'm going to put a 20 down here, and I need to write down the numbers that multiply to 20. Okay, so I got 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. Those are the numbers that multiply to 20. All right. Now, where did the 9 come from?
Adding 4 and 5.
Adding 4 and 5. So if I look through here, I need to find the ones that are going to add up to 4 and 5, or add up to 9. Well, that's these guys, because this is 21, that would be 12, and these add up to 9. So I drop my parentheses down. I know I'm going to have an x there and an x there. All right, and then I know that this is going to be a 5 and a 4. Now, it doesn't matter the order that we write them in, because multiplication is commutative. So I put pluses there. Okay? So what we're doing is we're taking this number here, right, writing down the constants of it, and figuring out which ones add up to 9. Right? Now, if that's how it is for every single one, we're in business, because you're ready to take a test right now. All right? But it doesn't work that way, you know, mathematics and stuff like that. Never works that way. It's never quite that easy. All right, so let's try this one. Do this one in red here. Okay, so I'm going to FOIL it. So we get x squared. And then what are we going to get when we go x times 5? We're going to get what there? 5x, good. 4 times x there?
Negative 4x.
Negative 4x, good. Okay, and then 4 times 5 is negative 20. So now if I put that together, what happens this time? What do we get in the middle? We just get an x. All right. So the difference is, no longer do we have a 9, we have an x. No longer do we have a plus 20, but we have a minus 20 there. Okay. So where did this x, 1x come from? Well, yeah, you're right. Subtraction, right? Okay, so what does that mean? Well, when we do something like that, okay, so let's say we have an x squared, okay, plus an x minus a 20. So now I'm going to do pretty much the same thing, except I'm going to take this and I'm going to put a little minus there. Because the minus is going to tell me that whatever factors I get here, all right, like somebody said, they're going to subtract. So here I go again. This is pretty redundant, but I want to just give you some background. All right, so again, which one of these subtracts to this 1 here? 1 and 20, 2 and 10, or 4 and 5? 4 and 5. Okay, so I put parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. I put x and I put x. I know I'm going to have a 4 and a 5. All right, so I got all that figured out. But one other thing that we should have noticed here is that in this case, both these things were positive. Positive times a positive gives me a positive 20. But in this case, one's negative and one's positive, which is why we got the negative 20. So what we have to do is determine where that negative and where that positive go on here. Okay? And there's a pretty easy way to figure that out. This number here is positive, so when we combine these two, which one of these should be positive?
The 5.
The 5 should be. And why is the 5 positive? That's right, we're adding it, and the 5 is the biggest number. So we want it to be positive, and the only way that's going to happen is if we make the largest number positive. All right?
Will that always go that way? The largest number goes positive?
In this situation. So these two things are different situations because this is a plus 20, right? And this is a minus 20. So let's continue with this again. Kind of just wanted to driving this. It's a little bit repetitive, but we'll FOIL this time. We'll FOIL this case. So we're going to have an x squared. But when I do this one, I'm going to have a minus 5x and a plus 4x and a minus 20. So when that one combines, what's going to be our sign on our x this time? Negative x minus 20. Okay? Negative x minus 20. So I can still do the same thing here. All right? So let's roll with Crystal's idea here. She had a question about, is this always going to work? All right, so we got this, we got this, we got this. This is the easiest part because we know those are going to be x's because I need an x squared. And I got a 4 and I got a 5. Now I have a minus in here. So according to what we just said, which one of these has to be minus? Which one's the largest number? 5 is the largest number. Since 5 is larger than 4, and my result has to be negative, then that has to be a negative, and this has to be a positive. And if you check that out, you'll see that it works. Okay? So, yeah, that's going to take on the largest one. But that's only, and this is a minus, see? All right. And I carry that minus over. All right. I mean, I've been factoring these darn things for who knows how long, and I still put the minus there. It's such a habit. You know, that way I know that these are going to subtract. Okay? If it's positive, then I'll put a little plus there. That tells me that's what I'm doing to those factors. I'm either adding them or I'm going to subtract them. Okay, so let's go here with some orange. So let's try this one out. Okay, so now we're going to FOIL again. All right, we know what we're going to get. So we're going to get x squared. Here we go, here we go, here we go. So what are we going to get inside this time? So we're going to x squared, then what are we going to get? Yeah, minus 5x minus 4x plus 20. All right, now we're getting a plus 20. What does this combine to? Yeah, minus 9x plus 20. Okay, so this one is pretty much the same as that one. The only difference is this sign this time. Okay, notice that these two are the same. Well, how come this is a plus 20? Where'd that plus 20 come from? Yeah, a negative times a negative. Okay. So when we factor that one, so when we go x squared minus 9x plus 20, okay, here's my 20, here's my plus, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, okay, I want them to add, I still want them to add to 9, but it's going to be a little bit different than the first one. So we have an x here and an x here. I know this is 4 and I know this is 5. But what are we going to put in here and here? Now we got to put negatives in there, minuses. Okay, because now I'm going to get negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20, and negative 4 plus negative 5 gives me a negative 9. Okay, so this whole factoring trinomial thing comes from FOILing that the product of this number, the factors of this number, either going to add or subtract to this number, whatever's there. That's the whole idea, all right, for every single one. Okay, but you have to write it. Notice that how it's written in this x squared x number form. Okay, that decreasing order. Remember I said something about that when you were forming things to make sure you're kind of writing that order. It's going to help you out. Well, this is why. Okay? If we don't have it in this order, then we got to jumble it to get it to work. So always write it in decreasing order. That's what we call that. So, let's try and do some factoring trinomials. So let's start out with there. So we're going to factor this one, right? Everything's positive. Good, good, good. We're going to find some factors of 18. Okay? And probably bet that every single one of you pretty much knows what the answer is. But what are some factors of 18? Well, here's an easy one.
2 and 9.
2 and 9.
3 and 6.
3 and 6. Okay? Now, you know, obviously there's fractional ones, but we're not looking for those. Okay? We're looking for nice numbers that go in there. So, parentheses, parentheses, parentheses. I know what's going to go here. I know what's going to go here. This is a plus. So where's my answer? 3 and 6, right? So we put 3 there. We put 6 there. So everything we've done so far is pretty easy. Now we just got to remember, we have to try to understand what are we going to put in here and here for our signs. Positive. Right? Everything's positive in this case, so everything stays positive. All right. If you FOIL it, you'll end up with the same thing. Okay. All right. I put the little plus up there. I wrote down my factors. Okay. And some of you are going to be able to do that in your head. And you know what? Going from here to here, if you can do that in your head, by the time you're done with this course and you're taking 95, it's going to help you a bunch. It really is, because in 95, you're taking these things and you're factoring them on the fly. All right, and I remember when I taught it a couple years ago, whenever the heck it was, a year ago, you know, some people are going, whoa, 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 and I said, hey, you got to know how to factor this because it's going to help you. All right, because you got to do so much other stuff that if you don't know how to factor on the fly, we had to go back and do a lot of factoring. It's going to come back and get you. So if you can get to that point at the end of the course, you're taking 95, you're going to be in really good shape. All right, let's try some more here. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Get rid of that. Let's try this one. Let's go x squared minus 8x minus I'm trying to think of a different one besides what we've been doing. There we go. That'll work. Okay, so I jumped it up to a 48. Okay, here we go. So we need some factors of 48. I know one.
2 and 24. 3 and
Okay,
also
now
4 and 8 1.
48 has a bunch. Okay.
Positive 4, negative 12.
You're right. I want to show you something here. See how both of these are even, 2 and 24? If you want to find some more factors, and both of these are even, you can double this one and half that one. Works every single time. So I'm going to double the 2, half the 24. There we go. 4 and 12. Again, those are even. Double, half. Okay? Those are even, but if we do this one, we're just going to get the same thing as 4 and 12, so there's no reason to double and half there. All right. 3 and 6, we can do this one too, even though this one's odd, double, half. But we already got that one, see? So it doesn't do us any good to do that. Okay. I think we got them all, right? Any more factors of 48? Am I forgetting anything? I think that's it. Okay, so now we got to find one that works. Which one works? 4 and 12. That's our winner. X, 4, 12. Now we got to think about how this works, because this is a minus. Okay? So one of these is going to be positive. One of them's got to be negative. Positive times a negative gives us a negative. So which one's positive? Which one's the positive is the 4, and which one's negative? Because this sign is always going to go with which one? Which one's this one going to? This sign's going to go with the largest number, right? Okay, 12 is larger than 4, so that's going to go with that. Okay. That guy almost sounded like me. Okay. We'll do another minus one here. This time we'll put a plus there. Okay, there we go. Now we got 32. Okay, so we have 1 and 32. What else? 2 and 16. Double and half. Double and half. Next one. 4 and 8. Double and half, see? Wouldn't do any good to double and half now, so we got 4 and 8. Do we have any other numbers that go into 32? I don't think so. That's pretty much it. Did we find the one that works? Okay, so we're going to write this out, x, 4, 8.
There's a positive 8 and negative 4.
Exactly. Again, that's because this is a positive, so gotta go with the largest number, else it doesn't work when we combine it. Okay. We can do trinomials all day. There we go. This is an interesting one. Okay. 1 and 36. I always come up with the easy ones. What's some more? 2 and 18, double and half. More. 4 and 9, double and half. What's the other one?
What's this 3 and 12?
Huh? 3 and 12.
And then 6 and 6.
6 and 6. Okay, so we got to find, I think that's all, man. We got a bunch of them there. So now we got to find the one that works. All right, it's going to take this parentheses, 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 x, that's the easy part. Which one works? 6 and 6, all right? Because again, this is a plus. So see, I knew I put plus there. I was so used to doing it. Plus, you got to add up to 12. I know it's going to be 6 and 6. But in this case, they both have to be negative, right? Okay? They both have to be negative. I'll show you this one. This one looks like this would probably be one of the easiest ones, but I'll tell you what, this messes up more people than any factoring one at trinomial I can think of. It's this guy right here. Alright? 6, so we have 1 and 6, and what's our other factor for 6? Okay? Alright, so we're zipping along. X. What goes in there?
The 1 and the 6.
What is it?
The 1 and the 6.
The 1 and the 6. Okay. And then you were about to say 2 and 3, weren't you?
Or would it be the 2 and 3?
2 and 3 is the most, you know, what people make that mistake all the time. They put 2 and 3 in there because they think 2 and 3 is going to 5, right? Nobody's thinking about the fact that that's a minus. Boom, they put the 2 and 3 in there. But it's a minus, okay? So that means that this, we got to have a positive and negative. Which one's negative?
6.
6, and the x is positive, okay? It's so common to get that 2 and 3 because I guess we're just so much thinking about 2 and 3 adds to 5 that we completely ignore the fact that, whoops, that's a negative, okay? So I'm hoping that everybody will get that right when it shows up, because it'll show up, I'll put it someplace, all right? And everybody's going to get it right. But that's a common mistake, okay? It's just, that's what happens. I think there's some more stuff on trinomials, but I want to give you, it's a little heavier, so I want to give you a break before we do it, but I believe that's all the ones that they have there. Oh, they have some XY ones. Let's do one of those, I guess. It's not a big deal, but it's the same idea. We'll do one like this. There we go. So this one's a little different. Notice we have an x squared, we have a y squared here, we got xy in the middle. Not sure which way to write it. Do I write with this one? Do I write with this one? Well, I got an x squared, it's all by itself. I'm going to start with that first. Okay, put the xy in the middle. Now this one isn't any different than what we've been doing. Okay, I'm going to write out my factors of 10. There's not very many. What's the next factors of 10? 2 and 5, right? Okay, I need him to subtract a 3. Did we find it? Got to be that, right? Okay, now let's think about this a little bit, what this is going to look like. I know this is going to be an x here. I know this is going to be an x here. I know I'm going to have a 2. And I know I'm going to have a 5. But I got a y squared here. So, how do I account for that? What's going to go right here and right here? The y's. Alright? So, nothing changes very much as far as what we're doing. Okay? Just because they threw a y in there, still factoring the same way. Got to find factors of 10 to give us 3, 2, and 5. They're subtracting. And now we just do the same thing. So one of these is minus, one of these is positive. Which one's positive? 5's got to be positive. That's got to be negative. If you FOIL that, you're going to end up with exactly what's here. Okay. So again, it doesn't make any difference. Don't let the x, y's mess you up. It's the same thing. It doesn't change anything. It's just you're going to have some y's here. That's all. Okay. That's all there is to it. Okay, so we did taking something out, and we did trinomials. But there's a part 2 to trinomials that we'll do next. But I'm going to get you out of here for a couple minutes, and we'll come back. We'll do those, and we don't have no quiz tonight, right? So we'll probably we'll do some practice problems, and then we'll scoot on out. So go take about a 5-10 minute break, whatever you want. We'll come back, work on some more of these. Get this going first. It looks like we got everybody here. Okay, so we'll do trinomials part 2 here. All right, and talk about grouping a little bit same time. Okay, so on your homework assignments that's there, and I'll give you some practice problems to work on. Even though the first section was all on taking something out, they also have some trinomial stuff in there. They also have some grouping stuff in there. Okay, so I guess when you approach these, don't just center yourself and think, well, this one's all taking something out and this one's all trinomials, because they're going to be they're going to mix it up a little bit. So be aware of that when you're doing this. All right, trinomials part 2 goes like this. So what happens, and it takes me a minute to put these guys together. Come on, give me a minus. We'll go with a plus there. What happens when we have a number out in front there? So now, every one we've had thus far has had a nice x squared here. This one has a number. Okay? So, how are we going to deal with that? Well, there's actually 2 ways to do this. Okay? So I'm going to show you both ways, and you can pick your way that you want to do it. But I'm going to tell you again that if you're going to take Math 95, it's going to help you be able to look at this and be able to factor it as quickly as possible. Okay? So I'm going to show you both ways, but one way is going to be a little longer than the other one. Okay? However, most people like the longer way. Okay? So I'll show you both. So here we go. So we're going to start with this. We're going to use a factoring technique called the AC method. This is in your book, and I think they call it the AC method. All right? So, how does that work? Well, you take this and you multiply the first term here and the last term there. And the reason why it's called the AC method is because all trinomials are written in this form, where this is an A, this is a B, and this is a C. A, B, C. So they call it the AC method because you're going to multiply the A and the C. Alright? So that's the technique that we're going to use. So I'm going to multiply that, and I'm going to get 18. And this is so similar to the other method that that's why it's preferred, because it's very, very similar. You multiply those first two, the A and the C, all right, and then you got 18. Now we got to find factors of 18 that, notice, I put my plus here still, you know, that's what I do. So they're going to add up to 6, okay? And I think I might have messed this up. Gosh, dang it, did I? 3 and 6. Yeah, hold on, my bad here. Let me change this to a 9 here. There we go. Okay, so now I want to find some numbers that add up to 9. Okay, so I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. Okay? So, which one of those adds up to 9? Right. Those are the ones I'm going to use. So you're thinking, well, really, I haven't done a whole lot different than what I've done before. Well, here's where the difference is going to come in. So we're going to write 2x squared, all right? 3, I'm going to go plus 3x plus 6x plus 9. So when you do the AC method, you multiply these two things, you're finding factors that add up to this in this case, because this is a plus. I found it to be 3 and 6. I always put those in the middle. So you actually are foiling in reverse. Because if we knew what these things were here, and we foiled it, this is the step that we would get before you combine to that part. Okay? So you really are foiling in reverse here. So now, to do this, to finish this, we're actually going to do factoring by grouping. Okay? It sneaks right in here. This is called factoring by grouping. Right here. So, we take the first two and we take the last two, and we're grouping them. And now we're going to say to ourselves, what can I take out of the first group, and what can I take out of the second group? So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to figure this out. So what can I take out of 2x squared plus 3x? X. So when I take that out, what am I left with? 2x plus 3. Alright, so this is factoring by grouping here. So there will be some in your, you'll see them, and they're just going to be just like this. So you're practicing it with inside the trinomial thing. What can we take out of 6x plus 9? 3. Now, you always take this sign and drop it down here. Okay? So I'm going to drop this down to make this a plus. I'm going to take a 3 out. Okay? And I get that. Now, also notice that this thing, this quantity, is the same as this. If they are not the same, something went wrong. They got to be the same. Okay? They got to be the same. Now, this next step looks a little magical. A little math magical. We're going to take this guy and this one, put them together. And this one's my leftover, and it goes right there. Okay? So, you might, it's kind of like, huh? What'd you just do? Okay, so we're taking these two here, putting them together, and taking one of these. Now, essentially what we're doing, okay, is I'm going to put it up here. What we're doing conceptually is we're actually taking this out. Okay? Because it's common to both of those things. So if I take one of those things out, I'm left with this and this. Okay? It's hard to kind of see, but we're taking one of these quantities out. We're undistributing it and leaving this with the x plus 3. Okay? That's kind of what you're doing. That's why they have to be the same. If they aren't the same, then we can't do it. Alright? That's factoring by grouping, or AC method. It's done. That's it. So if we took this, alright, FOILed it, that's what we end up with. Okay? Alright, so that's the AC method with factoring by grouping embedded in with it. It's a little bit confusing, but that's what it is. So now let's do it this way. So the other way to doing this, I just simply call it the guess method. Because it's what you do. You guess. And you hope that you get it right as quickly as possible. But if you have an idea how foiling works, then it'll be a pretty good guesser. So how does it go? Well, we know that here, that these two terms are going to multiply to that. So the only way that can happen is if I have a 2x here and an x here. Okay. Now, if I had 20 here instead of 2, then I could have 1 and 20, I could have 2 and 10, and I could have 4 and 5. So right there, that's 3 different guesses, possibilities I could have. Okay? Now, here, for 9, I could have 9 and 1, and I could have 3 and 3. So, I don't know which one it is. Well, I know which one. We know which one it is. But if we didn't do that previously, we'd have to figure out what's going to work. So let's say, just for the heck of it, we'll put a 9 here and a 1 there. Okay? So, when I FOIL this, I'm going to get 18, and I'm going to get a 1. And if I add that, that's 19. That's not even close. I need a 9. So that's not going to work. So then, do I pitch 9 and 1? No, because it could be this way. Alright, so now I have 2 and I have 9, which is 11. Hey, at least that's closer. But 9 and 1 isn't going to work. So now the only one I have left is 3 and 3. So I have 3 and I have 6, and that adds up to 9. So it's done. Alright, so that's called the guess method. So when you're doing these, I'm not going to tell you which way to do them. You have to decide that. Okay? If you want to factor it by the AC method, every single one, go for it. Alright? But at some point in time, you kind of got to, if you're going to take 95, you kind of got to lean a little bit this way. Alright? If you want to do them all the guess method, works for you, then do them that way. Okay? So let's do some more both ways. So you see them both ways. I want you to see them both ways here. I'm going to work with this purple. Okay, let's try another one. Let's go with a 3. Maybe I won't screw this one up here. Let's go with 3x squared. I'm going to put a minus here. I'm going to put a 10 there. And 7x there. Minus. So let's do that. Let me get this a little bit more closer. There we go. Okay? 3x squared minus 7x minus 10. So, we'll do it the AC method first. Then I'll let you guys decide which way you want to do it. So we'll do AC first. First step on AC is to do what? What do we got to do? Multiply 3 and 10. Okay? Well, I know that's 30. But it's a negative. Okay? Got to put the negative there. Alright, I'm going to come up with my factors of 30. Here we go. 1 and 30. What else we got? 5 and 6. What else we got? 2 and 15. Oh, I didn't even think about that. What else we got? We got one more. How much?
3 and 10.
We got 3 and 10. Okay? So, now we got to figure out, we got a minus, so that means I got to subtract to that 7. What subtracts to the 7? 3 and 10. There's my winners right there. Okay? So, I start out by writing the 3x squared down. Always do that. Now I'm going to put this down. Then I'm going to put this down. Okay? I didn't even put any signs there because I have to think about this. I have to think about these a little bit. Now I know that I got a negative there. So I know that chances are one is going to be positive, one is going to be negative. That rule that we had before, largest one, right? Is that still going to work? So if we make this negative, make that positive, is that going to work? This negative is positive, is that going to work? Yeah. Yeah. So I still can use that same idea. How about that? Put a negative here, put a positive here. Okay? Again, remember, this is going to lead us to this. Okay? And I've seen this happen. People see this, write this thing next. Remember when you went in a circle there. You went from here to here, and then you went back to that. That's not what we're trying to do. Alright, so we're trying to factor it. So now we're going to factor by grouping. Group. Group. Okay? So what can we take out of this first one? What can we take out of that? 3 and x. Okay? What are we left with? X plus 1. Good. Okay. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky again, too. I got a minus here, so that's what I'm going to bring down. Okay? So I'm going to put a minus there. Now, what can we take out of these two? 2 and 5, but we want the highest number. 10. Alright, we take 10 out of both of those. Okay. Now, when we take a 10 out of there, we're not just taking 10, we're taking a negative 10. So when we take a negative 10, we're just going to get an x there. When we take a negative 10 from this negative 10 here, we're going to get a plus 1. Remember, these two things have to be the same. If they are not the same, then something's wrong. Now we can finish this by grouping. We put these two together here, and we put this last one here. Done. Okay, that's done. So that's the AC method. All right. A little long, but it does a lot of the same stuff that you do if you do trinomials. Okay. So, next time we'll do one with the guess method first, if you don't know the answers. Okay, here we go. Here's the guess method. Alright? Again, this is you get to decide which way you want to do them. Doesn't matter to me, I'm not going to tell you. Parenthesis, 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 parenthesis. Okay? So, we lucked out. We have a 3x. There's only one possibility for that. But for 10, we've got a couple different possibilities, right? We can have a 10 and a 1, or 2 and a 5, okay? Now, probably, this number is kind of small, so probably my first inkling would be to go with 2 and 5, all right? Because if I put a 10 in there, that's a large number, So I'm going to try 2 and a 5, even though I know it's not going to work. 5, 2 times that gives me 6. Now here's the deal though. Because this is a negative, this time these two guys got to subtract 2 and 7. Oh, so 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 1 is, or 5 times x is 5. Subtract, that's going to give me 1. That's not going to work. So I erase that, and I erase that. But remember, it could also be this way. Alright? 15 and 2. If I subtract them, I get 13. That's not going to work either. So by gosh, it has to be, somehow it has to be 10 and 1, I guess. Ten, 3, that gives me my 7. So now it's just a matter of figuring out, okay, see now I got to think about this. I got to have a negative 7. So then this has got to be a negative, right? And this has got to be a positive. Because that gives me a positive 3, that gives me a negative 10. And well, it's written right above there too. Right. So that's the guess method. Alright. The problem with the guess method is when you have a lot, look at this was like a 12, and this is a 24, you got tons of factors. Okay, so you just kind of got to weed through them. But the more and more you do, the better you'll get at figuring out which ones are going to work. Alright, you'll just get better at it. Whew! Let's try another couple more here, then I'll let you try some. Let's go with, we'll do a guess method first this time. I might be making these a little too hard. I better next on Wednesday we just do more things. Let me get a second. I want to overdo it. Let's get rid of that 4. Make it a 2. And we'll make this another minus. And I'll make it yeah, we'll put a plus 5 in there. There we go. Okay, let's try this one out. Alright, so we got 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. We're going to go guess method first this time. We're guessing. Well, still caught a break. I know that's going to be there and there. Alright. Now we need some factors of 12. Now look, we got a 5 here, okay? So I probably don't want to use 1 and 12. I just think that the 1 and 12 is going to be too big. I could be wrong. I was wrong in the last one. So what do you want to try? It's 2 and 6, you said? Which one you want? We got 2 and 6 are factors of 12. 3 and 4 are factors of 12. Which one should we try? 3 and 4. Okay? So you just got to try it. You know, I mean, don't think if you're wrong, you're wrong. It's not a big deal. Okay, here we go. That's going to give us how much? 8. This is going to give us how much? Are we adding or subtracting? Subtracting. Did we get 5? Look at that. You got it on the first try. Okay. Now we know what they are. Right? Got it on the first try. Okay. We just got to figure out which one's plus and which one's minus. It's not always going to be the largest one. So this is a 3. This was an 8. So which one's got to be positive? 8. So that means this has got to be positive. This has got to be... There's your answer. There's the answer. Alright, so that's the guess method on that. You got lucky, you guessed right away. Those are your guesses, weren't they? Nice job. Did you know it? Just looked right? Yeah, you get a good feeling for it. Okay, here we go. We'll do this one using the AC method. AC method, what's our first step? Two and 12 multiply together, what does that give us? Alright. Okay, we need factors of 24. There's the first ones. Give me some more. 2 and 12. 4 and 6, double and half. 3 and 8. I think that's it, right? Got them all? Okay, which ones work? 3 and 8. Alright, so see on this method, there's no guessing. That's what's nice about it. You can just do it. 2x squared. I know I'm going to get a 3x. I know I'm going to get a 8x. I know I'm going to get a 12. So now all I got to do is figure out plus or minus, so these are minuses. So which one should be plus, which one should be minus? Negative 3 and a positive 8. Okay, good job. Group. What can we take out of the first one? Take an x out. What are we left with? 2x minus 3. Good. Plus. What can we take out of that one? 4. What are we left with? 2x minus. Got to be the same, or else it doesn't work out. Something went wrong. Alright. So, we did 3 factoring methods tonight. That's a lot. Alright. But that's what's in those first 2 sections. Because we did trinomials, and we did grouping, and we did taking something out. Okay? Alright, so that's going to be those. So, I think it's really beneficial for you to just try some of these and work on them for a bit, and then we'll go over and see how we do. Okay? Because that's how you're going to do best on them. I'm going to borrow your book here, Robert. So let's try some of these guys. And if you finish, you can just try some more. There's problems, you got to do them. All right. 423. What do we got to do on that page? 52, 37. All right. So let's do 25. Nothing too exciting there. 49 through 61. Odd. At least we got odd ones. You can check your answer. 59, 59 through 77. 71. Page 432. Should be 1 to 3 now. 17. Do 51. Ooh. I don't think I want to do that. Let's change this a little bit here. Definitely don't want to do that. I see what they did here. Okay. We'll do that one. We'll chat a little bit. It is possible. Let me look at 33 here. Okay. I'm going to pick a different one besides 33 because I don't want that one. Let's go with 31. There we go. There's a couple things I want to mention after we do these first, before you guys take off. Okay, so we got 7 of them to do. Sounds good.